So did Samsung lie about the Galaxy S26 Ultra? Well, let's break down what's actually going on. What's up guys, Sal here. So before we jump in, quick reminder that pre-orders for the S26 Ultra and the Buds 4 Pro are about to end. So if you're planning to get one, you can use my link and get that extra $30 credit. The link is down in the description. Alright, so I've been using the S26 Ultra since yesterday, and while casually scrolling online, I noticed that people are absolutely losing their minds over the whole 10-bit versus 8-bit display situation. You see, even before the S26 Ultra officially launched, we were told that the phone had a 10-bit display. Reviewers who attended Samsung's press briefings were specifically told that the display could produce a billion colors and that it was a 10-bit panel. Samsung's own website also mentioned this, although that wording has now been removed. But now Samsung is clarifying that the S26 Ultra doesn't actually use a true 10-bit panel. Instead, it uses something called 8-bit plus FRC. I'll explain what that means in a second, but the obvious question is, did Samsung lie? Well, the answer is both yes and no. And there's also a detail here that might surprise a lot of people. First things first, the S26 Ultra doesn't have a true 10-bit panel. That part is correct. What Samsung is doing instead is using a display technique that can simulate a 10-bit output. So you're essentially getting the visual benefits of a 10-bit display without the panel technically being one. This is where FRC comes in. FRC stands for frame rate control. A standard 8-bit display can show around 16 million colors, while a true 10-bit display can show over a billion. What FRC does is rapidly alternate between similar color shades. Your eyes blend those transitions together, so it appears as if the screen is producing additional shades in between. So technically the panel is still 8-bit, but visually it can produce smoother gradients and significantly reduce color banding, which makes it look very close to a true 10-bit panel in real-world use. And honestly, in practice, it works. I compared the S26 Ultra with the S25 Ultra using this video, and I can confirm that the new display does show noticeably less color banding. It's not some massive night and day difference, but if you know where to look, you can definitely spot the improvement. Now some people might say, isn't this misleading that if the phone doesn't have a true 10-bit panel, how can Samsung talk about a billion colors? Well, here's the surprising part. For years, we've been told that iPhones have a true 10-bit displays as well, but that's actually not accurate either. Apple uses the same approach, an 8-bit panel combined with FRC to reach the billion color output. The only Apple display that is genuinely native 10-bit is the Pro Display XDR. That's why Apple specifically advertises it as a true 10-bit panel. With iPhones, Apple never clearly says true 10-bit display, and several display benchmarks and teardowns have confirmed this too, which also makes sense because Samsung is the company supplying many of these displays to Apple in the first place. So does this mean the S26 Ultra doesn't actually show more colors than the S25 Ultra? Well, not really, because the S26 Ultra can simulate those additional shades. You still get the smoother gradients and improved color transitions you'd expect. In other words, you're still getting the practical benefits of a 10-bit display experience just through a different method. And yes, I can confirm you can see the improvements in real usage too. What's funny though is the extreme reactions online, especially on Twitter. Some people are acting like this single detail somehow makes the S26 Ultra the worst Galaxy phone ever made. Look, let's be honest here. Twitter or X has gotten significantly worse since monetization was introduced. A lot of accounts chase engagement by posting the most ridiculous and extreme takes possible, even when they clearly don't understand the topic. For example, there were posts circulating showing the S26 Ultra supposedly already suffering from a green line display issue. But if you actually zoom into the image, you can see it's clearly edited. Someone literally drew a green line over the display and didn't even bother hiding it properly just to get some quick bucks. Anyway, the reality is this: nobody can visually tell the difference between a true 10-bit panel and an 8-bit plus FRC panel on a smartphone display. And I mean nobody with the naked eye. You'd need high-speed cameras and macro equipments to actually measure the switching behavior. For a normal user, the visual result is essentially the same. That's exactly why companies like Apple, Google, and even Samsung stick with this approach. A native 10-bit panel would increase costs and increase power consumption, but wouldn't provide a meaningful real-world improvements over a well-implemented 8-bit plus FRC solution. I also intentionally waited before making this video. This information surfaced a couple of days ago, but I wanted to test the phone myself first. After spending time with it, I can confidently say the display on the S26 Ultra is improved when it comes to gradient transitions. However, I did notice that when you enable the privacy display feature, the screen does lose a bit of brightness, around 5 to 10%. But what's ridiculous is that I've seen some people claim that once this mode is turned on, the display suddenly looks like a 720p screen, which is honestly not true at all. Yes, the brightness drops slightly, but you're not losing resolution, at least not in any way you would actually notice, even if you're looking at the screen up really close. But yeah, when you switch on the maximum protection setting, the display looks like there's some gray filter over there, which doesn't really look good, to be honest. So the better approach here is to either stick with the normal mode or only enable it for things like notifications, pins and passwords, or if you really want to use the max mode, just turn it on when you actually need it instead of leaving it on all the time. Anyway, if you've got any questions, just drop them down in the comments. I'll be active there. And if you're planning to pre-order the phone, you can use my link to get that extra $30 credit. The link is down in the description. Now, Samsung is making a pretty big shift with the Galaxy Watch 9 lineup. I've got a full breakdown of that right here, and I'll see you there.